Well, speaking of a fall.
Let's see where you go with it.
A fall from contention for a Super Bowl starring the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, there we go.
But don't ask Dak Prescott because he spoke yesterday about the Eagles winning a Super Bowl and still has optimism for his Dallas Cowboys.
I feel like we compete with the Eagles and beat them for the most part when we played them. I don't want to say check the record when they're the guys holding the trophy right now. So credit to them. They've earned it and they deserved it by all means, but very close, especially even watch the NFC game, the NFC Championship. And those two teams that we battle against each and every year a couple of times. And as I said, feel confident about we've gotten the better part each and every time. To see it in such a dominating fashion, credit to them. It's our turn and it's on us.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
He's hanging out with Jerry too much. They're hanging out too much. He's starting to rub off on him, you know?
Isn't there like a fake it till you make it kind of thought, though? Like just keep convincing yourself and eventually you'll believe it? Maybe other people do too? No? I mean, strategy?
I don't know, man. He's not even making it through seasons too much anymore. I don't know.
As somebody who picked the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, this is like a while back. Like, you know, as somebody who picked the Dallas Cowboys to win a Super Bowl fairly recently, and it could have been this past year.
I think it was this past year, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know.
What do you have, Cowboys, Bengals? Is that who you had?
I believe so. I believe that was.
I mean, it would have been a cool matchup. That's like a historic matchup in a way, right?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I mean, and it would be historic if the Cowboys ever got back there, that's for sure. They are further away from being legitimate contenders than they were, and we talked about this. I don't know how you're a Cowboys fan and you go into this year and you hear those comments from Dak Prescott and go, hell yeah, he's got a great point. We do play Philadelphia well in the regular season. There's this whole thing called the postseason that counts still, and they either don't qualify or they're pretty quick to be dismissed. I don't see how anybody has got any sort of optimism based on what we saw this season for the Dallas Cowboys going into next year. I just don't.
I mean, they have split. I mean, I'm looking at the history of their them playing against each other. They have split quite a bit. You know, Dallas won.
I mean, the Bills beat the Chiefs a lot in the regular season too.
I mean, I think your point is spot on. I think he bases what he's saying off of, I mean, the evidence say they do split the games, you know, and Dallas leads the series overall head to head. But I just, you know, let's be clear here. We had this conversation the other day. I think it was Monday, might have been before. I don't know. But this Dallas Cowboys team is not closer to the Super Bowl moving forward than what they've been in years past. They seem to be seemingly further away because there's just question marks that surrounds this team. What is the health of Dak Prescott? What will his health be? Can he be durable again in his career? Can he get beyond what seemingly is the ceiling that he's hit in terms of amount of games that he's going to win? Who's going to be your backfield? Who's going to complement CeeDee Lamb? What are you going to do? Like, you have some nice pieces on your offensive line, but it's nowhere near the offensive front that you had when you had Tyron and all of those guys on your offensive line. It's not the same offensive line. So where do you go from there? Defense has the potential to be really good, but from all things I saw this year, they took a big step backwards not having Dan Quinn. And listen, I know Zimmer is a defensive mind and did some really, really fine things in Minnesota. We saw how that worked out. Do they get better this year? Is there a big switch, a big change, a big step forward? That remains to be seen. But I just think that there are so many question marks. And I mean, to Brady, to your point, I mean, it is about faking it until you make it, or believing it until further notice, I guess. Yeah. I think Dak truly believes that this team can compete for a Super Bowl and that they should be there based off of what he's seeing.
He's got to. I mean, think about it. Like, you know, there's only a select few who probably were never told at any point in time in their life like they couldn't make it, or like, hey, you throw like a pitcher, not like a quarterback. You know, like those comments that they stick with you, and you remember the doubters, you remember a teacher who said something or whatever else it was. Like, there's not many people who don't encounter that at some point in their life. And so many of the athletes, if you really think about it, in order to make it to the level of the NFL, you have to believe stuff that other people look at you and they're like, okay, kid, like, oh, okay, pal, you know, all right, we'll see. Like, they're going to be skeptical. They're going to be naysayers. There's going to be people who you know, look at you and say, yeah, you got no shot. And that's where you do have to be delusional. Like, there is an element of craziness and delusional that exists within every single professional athlete, with the exception of like the 0.001%. Because those individuals were so incredible at a young age that like everyone was like, no, yeah, he's different, he's special. But for the rest of us, you had to be into a category of being delusional, a little bit crazy, and doing things that other people thought were probably dumb, crazy, whatever it was, until you're able to make it to that point. So I'm never going to take a dig or say like, oh, you shouldn't think that. I mean, why would you even go out and play if you didn't think that every year you had a shot at winning a Super Bowl? Yeah. Now, the reality is, once you get on certain teams, and once you've been on teams that are good enough to win it, or you know have won it, whatever the case is, you know the difference. Like, you know the difference of the teams that have a legit shot and teams that really have no chance. And so there's elements of that I think you see once you get there. But I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's saying or what he's thinking, because he's got to convince himself of that before he can convince anyone else of that. I would like to point out this. The fact that we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, all right, at this point in time, now in the offseason, it goes to show you we've made our transition from being a sports talk radio show to now we're essentially just following a bunch of studio TV shows where there's a little less stuff to talk about. Let's just throw in the Dallas Cowboys. There'll be something there to talk about. I'm going to be fully transparent. I am not on board with us talking about it this soon after the Super Bowl.
I feel like some studio TV shows have other things going on too. So I think that
might be the case, but usually it's like, hey, what's the low hanging fruit? Oh, what Jerry say? Did Dak say something?
Dang.
It's usually how it works.
All right, so
that's between y'all. I'm not in that one.
Here's
that's a dig at you, Jonas.
Not me.
Go get him. Take that.
Play the hits, Jonas.
Play the hits, Jonas.
I didn't put it on the rundown.
I'm not in that one.
I didn't build the rundown.
I damn sure didn't put it on the rundown. I don't put anything on the rundown.
But speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, let's play a little game here.
All right, here we go. Play the hits, Jonas.
9 teams currently in the NFC have better odds or shorter odds to win the conference. Can you name those 9 teams with shorter odds to win the NFC?
Philly.
Philadelphia.
That's correct.
Washington.
That's correct.
Detroit.
That's correct.
Minnesota.
That's correct.
Green Bay.
That's correct.
Yeah. How many is
Minnesota?
That?
Did you say Minnesota?
How many is that?
I believe that's 5.
Tampa Bay.
That's correct.
The Rams.
That's correct. We got 7.
Don't tell me the Bears.
That's correct.
No
way.
Yes, it is.
That is such BS.
I almost cursed,
dude.
What do you mean?
I almost cursed. I almost said get the F out of here.
That's no way.
F out of here.
No
what
way.
Do you mean?
The Bears?
The Bears?
Yeah.
Come on. Oh,
What's the problem?
F out of here. Man.
What do you mean?
Damn.
What's the problem?
That's like throw. Okay, there.
You know what that is? You know what that is? That's an indictment on Dak. That's basically what betting, like betting odds are looking at the quarterback and saying, we feel like Caleb Williams before the offseason even gets started with that roster has a better chance than Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, you're missing one too.
I think the music should have started when we said the Bears.
I mean, there's another one too that you guys are missing.
The 49ers.
That's correct. Yeah, the 49ers are there. What's so stunning about the Bears?
I mean, what would
what
make
are you
you
talking
believe
about?
that they should
You're
be
a Bears fan, you know.
They should be down at the bottom. Right there down at the bottom with Carolina.
With like the Giants and
the Giants.
Carolina.
They should be right there. What? Yes.
By the way, Seattle's 30-1. So the Bears have shorter odds than the Seahawks.
That's weird.
And the Falcons and the Arizona Cardinals. And, so there's your quick glimpse into what the NFC could look like next year, with Philly and Detroit sitting atop. Philly plus 300, Detroit plus 425 to win the NFC next year. I don't think Detroit's going to be back, but, teach their own.
I mean, they have way more confidence in what Dan Campbell can put together, even after losing both coordinators, than to go with one of his coordinators having better odds than Dallas.
No team in NFL history has ever lost both their coordinators and gone to a Super Bowl afterwards.
Well, they don't go to the Super Bowl anyway.
Damn!
So,